Hello and welcome. Today I want to share my thoughts, maybe a bit of a review on one of the best games I played in 2024 and part of one of my favorite series of all time, The Legend of Heroes: Trails Through Daybreak. With the sequel just a little over 2 weeks away, I think it's the perfect time to talk about what makes this game so special and why I believe more people should experience this incredible series. All the footage you're seeing in this video was captured on PC, but I originally played the PS5 version from start to finish. So, without too much rambling, that comes later, let's dive straight in. Trails Through Daybreak is the 11th game, the Trail series. But before you click away, let me tell you, it's by far the best starting point the series has ever had. You know, aside from starting from the very beginning, of course. So whatever you're familiar with the series, or if this is your first time hearing about it, you can start right here without feeling lost. This is a turn-based RPG like all the previous games in the series, but this time it includes some real-time action elements. It was developed by Japanese studio Nihon Falcom, also known for the E series. The game originally launched in Japan on September 30th, 2021, and finally saw its worldwide release on July 5th, 2024. Yeah, it's been a while. But believe me, it was absolutely worth it. The story follows Van Arkwright, a young Spriggan, think of it as a mix of a mercenary and all-around problem solver, working in the vibrant capital of the Calvar Republic, the city of Edith. One day, a high school student named Agnes Claudel shows up on Van's office in order to hire him to track down 8 mysterious devices called Genesis. What starts as a seemingly simple job quickly pulls them into a larger conflict with the mafia/terrorist group Al-Mata. As the story unfolds, Van and Agnes travel across the country, uncovering secrets, gathering new companions, and fighting to stop Al-Mata's plans. The narrative in this game has a more mature tone than earlier entries, doesn't really shy away from tackling adult themes, all while maintaining a teen rating, so don't expect that much. Van himself is an excellent protagonist. While he can seem a bit dry and solitary at first, he has a very strong moral code and it's very dependable. As for the rest of the cast, they're equally compelling, but I'll leave it to you to discover, because trust me, meeting them for the first time, it's really good. One thing to keep in mind though, the game structure is completely linear. So what I mean is, as the days pass and the story advances, side missions and certain events cannot really be revisited. So if you are a completionist, it's worth noting for future playthroughs. This is also true for the entire series. The game story is divided into chapters. At the start of each chapter, you will have a day on Edith, where you can explore, interact with NPCs, taking on side missions, etc. Afterwards, the focus will shift to a new location where the main story will actually unfold, often introducing a new companion to join your team. Usually the story of each chapter is related to each new companion, at least for the first few. One of these games, in particular new features, is the alignment system. Your choices throughout the game influence Van's alignment. It can either go to law or chaos. Well, it really doesn't impact the main story or the endings in any way. It unlocks unique events, dialogue, and some faction alliances later down the line. It's really a promising addition, and I'm hoping for this to get expanded on future entries. I really do. By far, the biggest change from previous entries is the combat system. It blends real-time action with turn-based strategy. So, in real-time action mode, you can weaken enemies with light and charge attacks while dodging incoming strikes. Although it is quite simple, it's actually effective, especially when you combine it with the other 80% of the combat system. At any point during an action fight, you can freely enter turn-based mode where actual bulk of the combat is. If you played any of these previous games before, there is little new here. However, this hybrid system really feels faster, smoother, and more dynamic than previous game. Plus, the ability to instantly defeat weaker enemies without entering full battles is just a godsend. This really streamlines exploration and keeps the pacing tight. That said, the normal difficulty kind of felt easier than on previous entries, or at least it did to me. So if you're a seasoned player of these kind of games, you might want to start on hard mode and maybe consider switching later if it is true. Performance-wise, the game runs beautifully on PC and plays very well on PS5, though there were some occasional FPS drops in specific situations. I don't know if it's related to the PS5 itself or something within the game engine that I did not experience them on the PC version. Another good aspect is the soundtrack. It's very good overall, however I think that it might be inferior to previous entries. For example, the battle themes are really good, but they feel kind of more generic compared to like standouts from previous entries like the first Cold Steel. That's one I really love. Okay, so up to this point you're probably thinking, okay, this looks pretty good, but I don't see what really makes it stand out so much as I have heard. Well, that's because I haven't mentioned what I think is by far the best part this game has to offer. That is the world building. This is where Trails Through Daybreak really shines. The Trails series is renowned for its exceptional world building, and this game is no exception. The world really feels alive. It feels rich, it's meticulously crafted, from the detailed story to the technologies used to the geography and the unique cultures that populate the world. However, what really sets it apart are the NPCs. Unlike most games, the NPCs are kinda static and they're just there to populate the world, the Trails series gives them a depth and a story progression I have never seen. Let me give you an example. Early in the game, you meet a family who has moved to the poorer part of town. If you go and talk to the wife, she will share her frustration on how her husband lost his job and now they had to live here when they had a much better life before. The husband as well, something else related to the situation. If you go talk to the son, he will tell you that his mother is pushing him really hard to study a lot more so he can escape the situation, kind of like that. As the story advances and the days pass, their situation will do as well, and their dialogue will reflect this. So if you go and talk to them in the morning, then you do your thing, time advances and you're in the afternoon, you can go back to them and most likely they will have a whole different dialogue option for you. And this is true for every single NPC in the game. Every one of them, their own stories and their own little bubbles within the game that you can interact with and you can watch as they advance, as the main story does. Some of them will even have side quests tied to their individual narratives later in the game. This attention to detail isn't just a bonus, it's a hallmark of the whole series. The level of care put into crafting these NPCs and their stories really amplifies the connection you have with them and with the world, making every interaction feel meaningful. This is what really elevates the series into a class of its own and leaves a lasting impression long after the story concludes. The NPCs, their evolving lives, and their connection to the overarching world make you feel like a participant in this breathing universe. This is what really sets these games apart. It creates a sense of immersion that I have not seen in other games, at least not to this level. If you extend this to the whole series, I cannot explain you the amazing feeling when in a game down the line you revisit locations from previous entries or previous arcs in the story and the characters are just there and their stories have progressed through the time you haven't been there. It's really a wonderful feeling and I hope more people can experience that. And with that, we reach the end. The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak is an absolutely amazing game. It showcases some of the best aspects of the series, its compelling story, the new engaging combat, and unparalleled world building really makes it what I consider a must-play for RPG fans, even if you've never heard of the series. I hope you have found this video entertainment, and if you're planning to try the game, or you have any suggestion or any criticism, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you the next time.